Great. And as I was telling everyone else, there aren't a lot of registrations for this event because there was a natural disaster in our region a few last. So we will be putting this on YouTube. So don't get disheartened if not a lot of people join us today. We will be using this for many years because we have it on our YouTube channel. Okay. So we have. Okay. Hello, everyone. We will be broadcasting very shortly in another minute or so. We are just waiting for anyone else who may want to join us. Okay. I think we can begin now. So good evening, everyone. I'm Unnati, and I'm an Education USA advisor. And welcome to our session about power of women's colleges in the US. Just a little bit briefly about Education USA. Before I begin, I just want to share a few housekeeping items. I am going to begin recording the presentation now. So I'm not sure. Deborah, can you please begin recording? Okay, I got it.
And I think it's already recorded.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So just a little bit about Education USA. We are the official source of information regarding higher education in the US. We are supported by the State Department of the US government. And we provide accurate, comprehensive, and current information about everything regarding higher education in the US. We have over 430 plus centers around the world, and we have 7 centers in India. Towards the end of the presentation, I will share contact details regarding how you can reach out to our centers. As you know, we are going virtual, and we have a series of virtual events planned for you. Before further ado, I would like to begin our presentation about power of women's colleges in the US. As you know, there are over 4,000 higher education institutions in the US to choose from. Amongst these, there's a very special group of colleges, which are these undergraduate colleges focused on women leadership and empowering women to gain powerful positions in the future. We have a very interesting panel of alumni as well as current students and a parent as well, who will share with you their experiences in their women's college. Please join me in welcoming Elish Rhodes, who is a very recent graduate from Sweet Briar College. we have Sunita Krishnan, who is a not so recent graduate, but also parent of a current student at Barnard College. And we have Juliana Kenny, who is a sophomore, a current sophomore at Wellesley College. They will be presenting one after the other. I will put up their information in the chat box. Do reserve your questions for the end, and we will give you enough time to interact with them after the presentation. So handing over to you, Elish, you can leave your camera on. Thank you.
Well, it's morning over here in Virginia, but I guess good evening to all of you. My name is Elish Rhodes, and I am a recent graduate of Sweet Briar College. I graduated last year, so May of 2019, and over the summer decided to take a position as the International Admissions Counselor here at Sweet Briar. So I am now a full-time employee. I chose to come back and work here, so that's very exciting. I'm thrilled to be able to talk to all of you today. So I guess just to start us off, I will talk about why I ultimately chose to attend a women's college and why I felt it was important to take a job, at a women's college and try and reach as many women as I can. So I ultimately chose Sweet Briar because of their academics and their strong sense of community. But once I became a student here, I was so blown away by just the strong focus on female leadership here. I transferred in as a junior, so I came in during my third year of college and started off at a co-ed institution. And when I came to Sweet Briar, I realized how quiet I had been in like all of the classrooms leading up to this point. I didn't feel like I had as many opportunities to engage in discussions, and I wasn't learning quite as much about women's roles in different industries. And so when I came to Sweet Briar and I was surrounded by like-minded women who wanted to succeed just as much as I did and who were very active in the classroom, and I had professors that were supporting my ambitions and answering my questions, it completely changed the way that I view education as a whole, and it gave me the confidence to go into the workforce and be the leader that I've always wanted to be and feel like I had cultivated a voice that was worth being heard and was educated and important. So that's why I chose a women's college, and that's why I promote that everybody, look into a single-sex education, because I think that it gives you the opportunity to focus a little bit more and just surround yourself with people that are on the same page as you. So that's why I chose to come to Sweet Briar. I'm trying to think, what do I want to talk about next? Sorry, I have like my notes written down in front of me. So really important is the academics. We all go to school because we want to further our education. That's the ultimate reason. So here at Sweet Briar, we have 24 majors, minors, and programs that kind of span all of the sciences, the humanities, liberal arts, performing arts, all of that good stuff. Whatever you're interested in, we have an area of study here for you. And in addition to those majors and minors, we have 3 pre-professional programs. We offer pre-med, pre-law, and pre-vet. And all of our programs have an incredibly high success rate in either job placement upon graduation or acceptance into graduate programs. So specifically with our 3 pre-professional programs, we have had no lower than an 85% acceptance rate to top graduate programs in those fields within the past year. So that's incredible to me. And we attribute a lot of that to the way that we've structured our academic program. 2 years ago, we actually stepped away from the gen ed style of education and started what we call our core leadership curriculum. So going back to why I decided to come to Sweet Briar was I wanted to learn how to be a leader in my industry. And so we structured the entire academic system around women's leadership. So when students come in, there are 10 required classes that every student take, and they're all very collaborative, interdisciplinary classes that have a very strong focus on leadership. So the one that I like to talk about the most is, I always forget the exact title of the class, but it's basically female empowerment and leadership in the world. So we have guest speakers come in every week. So my favorite example is we had the Charlottesville, which is our closest city, their chief of police come and speak to us a couple of years ago, and she is the first Black woman who was ever the chief of police in Charlottesville. So that's amazing. And she was talking about her experiences and how she kind of rose through the ranks and all of that good stuff. So it's really incredible to see firsthand women who are just going and doing what we all want to do and have that inspiration and have those really meaningful conversations. So I think that that's why this structure works really well for us, and we've all loved it. All of our students love it. So that's a little bit about our academics. I would love to talk, for the sake of time, I'll move on, but I would love to talk about them further if anybody has questions. Another really important part of college life is the student life aspect and what kinds of clubs and activities each school offers. And Sweet Briar is very special because although we are quite a small institution, we have more activities going on than I can usually fathom or put in my Google Calendar. So we have an incredibly involved student body and faculty community as well, but we have clubs and activities for pretty much everybody. There are academic, athletic, social, and community-based organizations that students can get involved in. And the first week of every fall semester, we have an event called Quad Rocks, where all of the clubs on campus set up a table in our lower quad so that students can kind of mill around and see what is being offered that year. So that's a really great way to see what we're offering and to sign up for things, see what you're interested in. Some of the clubs that we have are our student government organization. We have cooking clubs, Black Student Alliance, community service-based clubs, riding council for equestrians, all sorts of amazing things. And it's very easy to start your own club if you don't see one that you're interested in. All you need is a faculty member to sponsor you, and then you're good to go. So that's really great to keep in mind. For me, I find a sense of community extremely important. So that's a huge reason why I chose Sweet Briar, is because we have the most tight-knit community that I've ever seen in a college, and that's so special. So I think about 85% of our faculty members, professors, and staff members live on campus in like houses on campus, obviously. So that alone makes for a lot of together time. We're always hosting like dinners for the entire community to come together and share a meal and just discuss what's going on. We have town halls in the chapel probably every month just to go over any like upcoming issues and news and stuff of that nature. But it's just a very engaging, welcoming, warm community, and it's so special. And like former graduates come back all the time just to take part in activities and events and traditions that we have on campus. We have board dinners and all kinds of ways to stay involved. So that's really wonderful. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes again. I actually brought my sister. We had a play right before spring break, and so I made my sister come down from a few states away to come and watch with me because the whole community came out in support, and it was just so wonderful. And as I said before, we have quite a few guest speakers come to campus. So when we do, usually we'll host a big dinner, and students that are taking classes within that subject can get to meet the speaker one-on-one and ask any questions. And it's so wonderful. It makes such a difference when you're able to cultivate those really personal relationships with people and you're not just a face in a crowd. So that's why our community is so wonderful and important to me. So kind of moving on, obviously you can tell that I love my college. I love Sweet Briar so much. So I chose to stay in touch with Sweet Briar because it changed my life for the better. As I said, it completely changed my views on education and made me appreciate myself as a woman and a leader more than I ever had. I never thought that it would be possible for me to go into the industry that I wanted and be successful and be heard and not have to like fight tooth and nail the entire time just to prove myself. And coming to Sweet Briar just showed me an entirely different path for me. And I was surrounded by these beautiful, kind, warm, loving people that supported me and pushed me and believed in me, and that was huge. So I decided to come back after I graduated because I want to give as many women as I possibly can the same opportunities that I was given. I realize how lucky I am to be a part of this community, and I want to give that to as many other women as I can, because I think that it's really life-changing, and everybody deserves to experience that. But if you're not like me and you don't want to come and work for the college, a lot of my friends will come back for reunions, and we do sweet work weeks. So every summer, when it comes time to like renovate campus a little bit and do all the painting and the gardening, I think we had like 150 graduates come back last year and help spruce up campus before all the students moved back in for the fall semester. So everybody just really takes pride in where they lived and spent 4 years. It's so meaningful to them. It was home. So we all love to come back and do whatever we can to make it better. So I think the last little bit of information that I want to share with you is my personal advice when it comes time to applying to colleges and choosing a college that you want to go to. It is so important to ask questions. Never be afraid to ask questions. You're not going to annoy anyone. You want to learn about the schools, all the dynamics, what kinds of academics they have, if you're going to fit in, what the community is like. So with that being said, try and talk to as many people involved in the institution as you can. So whether that be professors, current students, alums and graduates, just anybody that you possibly can, get as many perspectives as you can, and that'll help kind of paint a picture of what, you know, living there is going to look like. And I think that that'll make a huge difference for you. And also see if you can try and schedule either an in-person or a virtual tour, because it's so important to see the campus, if not in person, then over the computer as much as you can. You know, that'll help give you a sense of what it's going to be like to learn there. So I guess that's my advice, and that's my experience with the women's college and why I think that it's incredibly important. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that very wonderful experience. And everyone, as you know, I just would like to point your attention to the fact that Elish's email ID as well as her phone number is on the slide. So feel free to reach out to her. She does work in admissions, as she has stated. So she's a great resource for any questions regarding women's colleges. Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah. I would like to move on to Dr. Sunita Krishnan and hand over the webinar to her. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Unnati, and good evening to everyone. Hope you're all safe and sound. And if you're in West Bengal, hope you have clearly you have enough electricity to be joining us this evening. So as Unnati mentioned, my name is Sunita Krishnan, and I'm an epidemiologist by profession. And I graduated from Barnard College at Columbia University in New York almost 30 years ago. And I now have a daughter who is studying at Barnard, and she just finished her first year. So I was in the thick of thinking through a lot of the issues that you are now thinking about not so long ago. So let me start with why Barnard? Why did I choose Barnard for myself? Although that was a choice that I made along with my dad. And also, why has my daughter chosen to attend Barnard? First and foremost, I think, building on what Elish said, it is Barnard's dedication to women's education and women's advancement that was one of the key criteria that led me and my father to choose Barnard for me, and that led me to recommend Barnard to my daughter. It has been a key factor in shaping my career, this dedication to and focus on women's education and women's empowerment. My 4 years at Barnard enabled me to discover what my true interests are, what my strengths are. I was nurtured by Barnard faculty, and I found my career path which has been a focus on promoting women's health and equity around the world. Second key criterion that led me to choose Barnard is the high caliber faculty. Barnard College is a small college located within a very large research university, that's Columbia. Faculty at Barnard are really focused on and completely dedicated to educating undergraduate students. You get to work side by side with Barnard faculty in their labs. You get to do field-based research with faculty who are not only fantastic educators, but they're also thought leaders in their field. And one of the highlights of my 4 years at Barnard was actually my first year seminar, which is one of the key courses that first year students at Barnard take. All first year Barnard students take first year English and a first year seminar. And my first year seminar was focused on the nature of human nature. It was a class that was taught by a Barnard philosophy professor. And it turned out that her husband and her very close friends were all epidemiologists. And I was exploring epidemiology as a career for myself. And she really got to know me very deep, very closely when, in that first year seminar. And when she realized that I was considering a career in public health and particularly in epidemiology, she offered to take me out for dinner with her husband and her 2 very close friends. And that was a turning point. I was completely convinced after that dinner that I wanted to be an epidemiologist, and subsequently those 3 individuals who were really giants in the field of epidemiology guided me into graduate school. So linked to that is this opportunities for STEM education at Barnard. Barnard has a really fantastic STEM program, and I believe about 30% of the 2020 graduating class were STEM majors. I worked in a lab all 4 years at Barnard doing research on plant genetics. And that was just a fabulous experience, really taught me what research is all about. At the same time, Barnard also has a fantastic humanities and social science program as well. I know the Barnard dance program is really famous. It's been famous for many, many decades. And Barnard really promotes and fosters your exploration of creativity. I was fortunate enough to be selected into a program called the Centennial Scholars Program. My first year at Barnard was Barnard's 100th year. That program has a slightly different name, which I can't remember now. But it's a program that provided you with a scholarship, an opportunity to be mentored by a professor, and then funds to go off and do an independent project of your choosing. I chose to do a project on women's health, and that ended up again being sort of one of the activities that I did at Barnard that launched me into my career in women's health. Barnard has a very tight-knit community. As I mentioned, it's a small college in a large university. The Barnard side of Broadway is really cozy. You have a quad with all of the dorms, or a majority of the dorms are in the quad right inside the Barnard campus. And there's just amazing fellowship amongst Barnard students. I continue to be extremely close with my roommate from sophomore year. I was thrown into a room with her through the lottery and ended up rooming with her for the remaining 2 years. So we were roommates for 3 years out of 4 and have remained lifelong friends. Finally, there's nothing to beat New York City, music, museums, and more. So much to explore, to do, to learn within New York City. There really is no other city like New York. It's where I was born. So a little bit about myself. I was born in New York, grew up partly in New York and partly in India. and completed my high school education in India. So I did the Indian school certificate, the ISC, and then went back to New York for my undergraduate education. At Barnard, I was a biology major. And as I mentioned, I had this special project that I did, which was with a sociology professor. I went on after Barnard to do my PhD in epidemiology at the University of California, Berkeley, and have been engaged in a career in global health research with a focus on women's health and equity ever since. That's it. Back to you, Unnati.
Great. Thank you so much, Sunita, for that very heartwarming explanation of your school days, as well as how you recommended your daughter to choose the same institution, which just shows your dedication to the institution. So now I'd like to invite our last panelist, Ms. Juliana Kenny, to share her experiences at Wellesley, as she is a current student and probably the most relatable out of the entire panelists. Thank you.
So hi everyone, I'm so excited to be here first of all, and yeah, I was in your position not too long ago. It's a nerve-wracking process for sure, and never an easy decision to make, but I'm hoping that some of the information you'll find here will be clarifying. So just to start off with a bit about myself, so as Unnati said, my name is Juliana and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm currently a sophomore at Wellesley College, going into junior year next year, which is very exciting. So home for me is Mexico City, but I am half British, as you may be able to tell by the accent. And at Wellesley, I'm pursuing a double major in philosophy and neuroscience, which I'll talk more about in a second. But first of all, I think the question that we're really all here to discuss is why choose a women's college? And to begin this discussion, I'll say that I actually ended up at Wellesley very much through turns of good luck, and in great part thanks to a friend. So as an international student, I was not particularly familiar with the US college application process and was kind of struggling a bit to see where was I going to fit in, where did my academic interests, where would they best be served, when my best friend told me that they were applying to a place called Wellesley College that I had actually never heard about before. And when I asked them more about it, they said, you know what, I actually think you should check into it and you should see what you think of it, because I can really see you fitting in there. So I took my friend Chloe's advice and I just Googled Wellesley College with no expectations in mind, and absolutely fell in love for the school, the campus, the students, but especially what it stood for. I think it's very much a common theme that you'll find amongst students of women's colleges to say that you don't realize how much you need a space that is specifically tailored to you until you are a part of it. In other words, like in my co-ed educational experience, I never considered myself to be a quiet person, as in I participated actively in class, I asked questions, and yet as soon as I found myself transported into the space of Wellesley, I found that truly I expanded so much as an academic, but also as a person, as a friend. And that's something that, once again, as much as I tell you about it in this forum, you won't really understand until you are a part of that space yourself. The second big part of, I think, why Wellesley was such a fantastic choice in retrospect was 100% the academics. To make a long story short, as many liberal arts colleges, we do have a model that's called distribution requirements. So what this means essentially is that in order to get your degree after 4 years or however many years you spend at Wellesley, you need to take classes in a bunch of different areas. So for instance, you'll take one class in the arts, one class in history, one lab, one math course, etc. At first, this can seem like a really daunting prospect, especially if there's like that one subject that you wrote off a long time ago and were hoping to completely avoid in your college career. And I can definitely tell you from personal experience that that was the case with me. So I came into Wellesley very much set on being pre-med and on pursuing a neuroscience major, which I did start pursuing as soon as my first semester started, but quickly realized that I was going to have to expand my interests a little bit. So I was a little nervous about fulfilling one of the requirements, which is epistemology and cognition. Had never taken a philosophy class in my life, had never really studied religion in depth, and was not particularly eager to, shall we say. But I figured I should bite the bullet, and I ended up looking through the course browser for the different classes that we had, and saw that there was one course offered called Introduction to Moral Philosophy. As I said, had never taken a philosophy class before, but I was like, okay, you know what? It's time. We're going to do this. We're going to rip this bandage off and get it over with this semester. So I go to the first class and I sit all the way in the back of the classroom and kind of like begrudgingly get ready to read the syllabus and see all these different names of these white male philosophers that died a very long time ago and would have no relevance or bearing to my life. As soon as the class starts, the professor, Corinne Gardner, who is fantastic, walks up to the front of the classroom and stands up on one of the desks and begins lecturing about the dilemma that I'm sure many of you have heard about, which is that you're riding on a train and the train is set to hit one person, but you can pull a lever and change the direction of the train, save that person's life, but in other words, hit another 10. And immediately I was hooked on that class. Like instantly I knew that this was going to be something that I would greatly enjoy. And I was quite correct, in fact, because lo and behold, one semester later, I was 3 philosophy classes deep and on my way to declaring a second major. So I think what you'll find at Wellesley College is that professors care deeply about you, both as an academic, but also as a person, and the impact that they will have on your life and in the interests and the career you pursue cannot be overstated, basically. But that being said, academics are not all that we do at Wellesley College, and social life is definitely a huge part of also why I love this school so much and why I spend so much time trying to convince other people to apply. So the second main reason I chose Wellesley was precisely because it is a smaller community, and that means that really you feel like you're woven into something meaningful the minute you step onto that campus. Anytime you step into a classroom, you are guaranteed that the number of students there is not going to be more than 30, which means that you actually have a chance of developing friendships with the people you sit next to in class and discuss and ask questions to. But beyond that, when you walk between buildings, you'll see at least like 3 people you know in the space of any given 5 minutes, which really makes you feel like, again, you are part of the community here and the people know you and appreciate you and will miss you if they don't see you around. The next kind of best way to go about making friends in college is definitely by joining our extracurricular activities. So I think you'll find a very common theme amongst women's college students, but also specifically Wellesley students, in that there are so many different cool options of extracurriculars you can join. To give you an example of a few, Wellesley has a fantastic Quidditch team, which I never thought I would be saying. We have a mock trial team that I'm part of, so feel free to come up with any questions that you have about that. We have Model UN, we have art clubs, dance clubs, but there's also a huge emphasis on research. So any of these opportunities that you join, you guaranteed to meet other students who are like-minded or maybe very different. And I honestly can tell you that you will learn so much from the friendships that you make at this place and at these colleges, just as much probably as you would in the classroom. So to kind of transition to the next focus of the discussion, in order to describe the community of students and how that translates into an alumni network. So can't quite yet speak on the alumni network, but in a few years, I'm sure I will be having a very good experience, but I can speak to what the community has been like during the times of COVID-19. And I think honestly, like these months have gone to show just how special the bonds you make at women's colleges are. Even though my friends and I are all miles and miles apart and scattered across so many different time zones, like I can promise you it is almost impossible to schedule a FaceTime, we have all made such an active effort to be there for each other, to support each other, to say, okay, what do you and your family need financially? Can I order you groceries? Hey, how about we play some game nights to just take your mind off things? Let me mail you a stuffed animal because I really miss you and can't hug you physically, but here is a replacement that we'll just have to make do for the next few months. All of these small actions might seem precisely that, small, but when you take them into the larger context and when you feel that support given to you every single day, both in the times of coronavirus, but also when you're on campus, when you had a really rough exam and you're kind of reading for the rest of the day, when you're not sure what you want to major in and your friends can just sit you down and be like, okay, here are your options, here's a game plan. Like I guarantee you that those are friendships that you will cherish and appreciate for the rest of your life. So the last big piece of advice I have for you as you all are applying in a very, very stressful time, like truly you have all my respect, think about where you can envision yourself. as both of the other panelists have said, like, it's really, really important to ask questions and do your research. And of course, like, no one is ever going to hold it against you, but really, really close your eyes and picture yourself walking across an academic quad. Picture yourself in a class, picture yourself sitting in a dining hall and having really, really great conversations with your friends. And the place where you can most picture yourself with ease is probably where you should be. So that is my last piece of advice for you, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Great. Thank you so much, Juliana. That was really beautiful how you shared your experience, especially during COVID-19, just showcasing the community of a women's college and how close-knit it is. And you can see the common theme, everyone, from all three of our panelists about how important community is, how tight-knit it is, how you can get inspired by people you meet, by professors who are teaching you, because of the sheer size as well as the community in these women's colleges. So definitely, I would recommend you consider this as one of the options that you are when you are researching a college, because it is important to emphasize women in leadership, and then envision yourself and, like Dr. Krishnan, actually become an alumni who is successful. So do consider these stages, these different women in different stages of their lives. One is a current student, one is a recent graduate and still is so influenced by her time at the women's college that she chooses to work in admissions back in the college, as well as Dr. Krishnan, who is now a successful epidemiologist, something that she got back from her dad itself. So without further ado, you have to take in questions. Feel free to tag them in, I'll redirect them to our wonderful panelists. Just going to wait. Okay, I see someone, Shivangi, has her hand up. So would you like to unmute your mic and just ask us your question, Shivangi? Okay, maybe that was a mistake. Anyone else, please feel free to ask any questions to our three panelists. Deborah, even if you have questions, you can come up.
Yeah,
CJ,
I was just going to actually, I think we have a question, but I have one as well. So, do you want to look at the question and the question box, and I can also add mine after that.
We're going to read out the questions because I honestly didn't see them. Maybe better.
All right. So the first question is, what is the most unique aspect of each college? So maybe each representative wants to just mention sort of the most one unique aspect of each college. I know you've already told about some of these, but maybe what is the one highlight?
Well, I think that in Sweet Briar's case, the most unique aspect is we are an intentionally small all-women's college, so we cap all of our classes at 8 students per professor, so that we can cultivate those really close relationships between the students and the faculty members. And in addition to that, we're on about 3,200 acres of land, so we have like limitless possibilities for on-campus research opportunities. We added vineyards and apiaries and this massive greenhouse that environmental students have access to do personal research in. So I think that that's quite unique. And oh, the last thing, because this is really important, there are only 2 all-women's Abet accredited engineering programs in the United States, and that is us and Smith College. So that's a huge accolade for us. We have this incredible engineering program that has had an amazing success rate. So that's pretty unique.
I think for Wellesley, Honestly, the traditions. We have many a funky tradition that just repeat every year and that are incredibly fun. So, okay, this one is a bit of a secret. So, people watching this, if I share this with you, you must promise that if you attend Wellesley, you will not repeat the information here disclosed. But the first night that you get to campus, pretty much. So I remember this super clearly. It was my first night there. I was unpacking in my room. It was so incredibly hot. I was meeting my roommate. We were hanging out. And suddenly we hear this super loud knock on the door. And it's our RA. And she looked dead serious. And she said, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to change into clothes that you don't mind getting dirty and wet. Come down to the lobby of the building, bring a penny and nothing else. My roommate and I looked at each other and we were like, that's it, we're getting expelled. Like, that's it, we lasted a day. But nonetheless, we obeyed the orders, go down and find every other first year in the building doing the exact same thing. After which, like, a bunch of our different RAs and house presidents jump up onto a table, teach us chants for the house, lead us out into the dark of the night until they take us to the edge of the lake on campus and say, okay, now you don't have to if you don't want to, but at this point, you can throw your penny in the lake, jump in yourself after it, make a wish, but in order for that wish to come true, you have to find the same penny 4 years later. So yes, definitely the traditions of Wellesley are what make it so, so special.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think, I mean, probably one of the most unique aspects of Barnard College is the fact that it is part of Columbia University and in New York. And so you have all of the advantages, as I described, of having, of being part of a small college, a really tight-knit community, but at the same time, you have all of the resources of a really large research university, and you have New York City right outside your gates. And I think that makes for a very unique experience.
Wonderful.
Interesting.
Go ahead.
And yeah, those are really interesting, that how everyone chose different aspects of like your college to talk about. So for our next question, we have Shivangi asking us, how sure are the job opportunities in, I'm just adding this to it, from women's colleges, or how does, I guess to rephrase, how do women's colleges help you with job opportunities?
So at Sweet Briar specifically, we have an incredibly strong career services office that starts working with students as soon as they come in their first year. So that's very helpful because she's always exposing you to various internships and job opportunities, and then helping with resumes and stuff like that. But per discipline and per major, your professors are incredibly helpful when it comes to making connections and finding, specific jobs and internships that would fit your interests and your strengths. So again, I think that goes back to our small class sizes and our tight-knit community. When your faculty members know you very personally, it's very easy for them to help you find the best opportunities for you. So out of my graduating class, all of us were either employed already or had been accepted to grad school upon graduation day. So that was huge. We all had some sort of plan. So that was huge. Yeah.
That's very interesting. That's like 100% having future plans.
Yeah, exactly.
So for Wellesley, I think there are three main fronts that really help students with job employment. The first, similarly to Sweet Briar, is career education. So our Office of Career Education just received a couple of years ago, I think, a 50 million donation or something along those lines that completely revamped it, and means what that means for you as a student is that as soon as you get to campus, you're assigned a specific career mentor. So they're going to meet with you on a regular basis, and this is in addition to other career mentors for, say, a pre-law path or a pre-med path, for things that are a bit more specific. Within the Office of Career Education is point number 2, which is internships and funding. So Wellesley not only has, I think, over 20 signature internships, which means these are partnerships that have been developed over many years and across the globe. Like, we're talking everywhere from Latin America, the African continent, India, the US, everywhere truly, that are fully funded and very, very accessible to students regardless of GPA. But also, if you find your own internship, you are almost guaranteed funding by the Office of Career Education for any value between $3,000 to $5,000. And I think point number 3 is something that's very unique to Wellesley, which has been called the strongest or the biggest women's network in the world, something along those lines. And it's essentially that we have the equivalent of a platform of LinkedIn, pretty much, called the Hive, specifically for Wellesley alums. So what this means for you as a student is that you have a resource which you can access, through which you can post on a huge platform and say, hi, I'm looking for internships in the Arizona area or in the Delhi area, and I want to do research in public health. Is there any alumni that could help point me in the right direction? And chances are that there will be someone out there who's graduated recently or not so recently who is more than willing and able to help you.
Great. So similar to Sweet Briar and Wellesley, Barnard also has a program that's called Beyond Barnard, which kicks in right at the time of that you join, at the time of orientation, and you are assigned a Beyond Barnard mentor, and are encouraged to utilize many of the resources and opportunities that the program offers, from writing your resume to participating in job fairs and career fairs, engaging with alumni. There are a whole series of activities. I know that my daughter, as soon as she reached New York and Barnard's campus, took her high school resume to the Beyond Barnard office, revamped it, and attended the first job fair that was held on campus. And I think there were a number of first-year students in their first semester who showed up at the job fair, and it was a great exposure and an opportunity also to interact with senior students who were on the verge of graduating, looking for jobs post-college and so on. So you really start, they start exposing you to the various different aspects of exploring your career idea, building your career plans, and then looking for jobs. There are numerous internships as well that you can find through the Beyond Barnard resource. And of course, you're again part of Columbia University, so there are numerous platforms that you can tap into. I know that my daughter applied to become a peer tutor, and that's giving her an opportunity to actually explore an interest perhaps in pursuing career in education. And so she's been a peer tutor teaching calculus to students at Barnard. She's also participated in a program that does that teaches and tutors students in primary schools in Harlem. So she's gone out and done tutoring in reading as well as in math to kindergartners and third graders in Harlem. So there are all of these different opportunities and ways in which Barnard students are able to explore their career interests, to gain skills and experience, which then leads up to either pursuing graduate education or getting into the job market. I don't have all the statistics at my fingertips, but I can say with great confidence that Barnard graduates are very successful in whatever career path they pursue.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. That's really interesting to know that as soon as students step in the door, they do have these resources at their disposal, including internships, which do build their profiles to further then get into jobs, as well as those career services, which ultimately help them with job fairs to get jobs. The next question kind of does lean into this a similar context. It's by Amit, and he asks, my daughter is in the 10th grade currently and is interested in volunteering work. What kind of volunteering activities are best recognized while in the admissions process? So I'll just redirect this to Elish, since she's in the admissions office. So we'll just have you answer this.
Absolutely. So I think that anything that she does volunteer-wise would be appreciated by an admissions committee. Whether, you know, I would recommend she find something that she's passionate about, whether that be working for like the homeless or building houses or just whatever she's passionate about, take that and run with it. And as long as she has the hours and has like that experience under her belt, we're all going to be incredibly impressed by it. So yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah, that's really interesting to know about that. Definitely there is an emphasis on volunteering. And especially in India, there are a lot of opportunities. So yes, we encourage all applicants to consider this as something that could help others as well as build your profile for colleges. Okay, so the next question is, do we get scholarships in any of these colleges? So I will ask all of you to answer this just because it is different for different colleges.
Yes, so specifically for international students at Sweet Briar, we have separate scholarship opportunities for them that, you know, are a little bit bigger than our domestic students would get, just to help, because we understand that, you know, traveling to a different country is costly. So we have those in place. And then we have like various other smaller scholarships that are awarded to only a select few students every year, but that international students are, what's the word that I'm looking for? They're considered for as well. So, but we always encourage, no matter what your scholarship package looks like, we always recommend looking outside the college for other scholarship opportunities, whether that be through volunteer organizations that you've worked with, or any, like if you're involved in a church that offers a scholarship, stuff like that. So anything will help. So that's my experience.
So for Wellesley, Wellesley is dedicated to meeting 100% of demonstrated need for any applicant, be it an international student or a domestic student. And what this means is that pretty much like any amount that your family can contribute, everything else that is beyond that, which can be quite a lot considering tuition is fairly expensive, will be 100% covered by Wellesley. Because of that, Wellesley does not offer merit scholarships or any other type of scholarship really. But if financials are something that you're concerned about, which I know for me it was very, very much a big point of emphasis in the college application process, I would strongly encourage you to use something called My Net Intuition Calculator. So you can find this on Wellesley College's website, and what it is a very simple tool that doesn't require you to put in any icky tax forms or anything like that, but pretty much just like a rough estimate of family earnings, and within like less than a minute, it will give you a high end, a low end, and a most likely end of what you can be expected to contribute. And also this program is used by, I think, 67 other partner institutions, so it will also allow you to compare what you would be paying at Wellesley versus at other institutions.
Interesting.
So yes, Barnard also uses, you know, you can use the same tool to understand what a Barnard education would cost you. Barnard is also committed to diversity and meeting student needs, financial needs. And as far as I'm aware, there are few to none merit scholarships. So it's all need-based financial aid. But I would encourage you to reach out to Ruby Bhattacharya, who is the head of international admissions at Barnard College, for more specific information. My daughter is a US citizen and, you know, sort of falls into a slightly different category as far as financial aid goes as well. And so I'm not the best person to answer this question, but I'm happy to provide Ruby's contact information to Unnati, and we'll post that.
Yeah, perfect. Definitely, Ruby is a great resource. We work with her quite a bit in education. And answer questions specifically for international students, as if you are a US citizen living in India. So do reach out to our centers as well to get more help regarding this question. Okay, so the next question I'm going to point to Sunita. It is someone who's asking about what are the advantages women's colleges, college students will get in professional life and in higher education. So this is something that you have experienced firsthand, so I would love you to take it.
Sure. When I applied to graduate school from Barnard College, I applied to a PhD program in epidemiology pretty much right out of my undergraduate program. And I was accepted into all of the top schools of public health. And part of that was, I think, the recognition that Barnard education is a really high quality education, that students graduating from Barnard, particularly with the research experiences that I had gained during my 4 years, there was high confidence, that I was well prepared. And in fact, it's fairly rare for students to come right out of a bachelor's degree and enter into a PhD program in epidemiology in particular. Most students would go into a master's program and then go into the PhD. But I think both my research experience, as well as the fact that I was able to take a graduate course in epidemiology at the Columbia School of Public Health as a senior at Barnard, really prepared me very, very well. Second, I think related to the high quality education is that a Barnard graduate has, as a woman, you've really acquired the confidence and the ability to present yourself. Barnard women are bold. Bold is the tagline that goes with Barnard, and I think being bold is really important in this world. Being able to stand up and claim your seat at the table, claim your rightful place, be it in research or business or in any other field. Barnard prepares you to claim your rightful place, and I think that was really important preparation. I was the youngest student in my PhD program at Berkeley. Didn't stop me. I had the confidence, and I had the belief that I could do it because I had graduated from Barnard. I had the confidence in myself. And I think the third aspect that has been really important for my success, I think, is commitment to core values related to social justice. I know that this is really important to my daughter, that she and her friends, current Barnard students, are really, really committed to equity and social justice, to being a force for good in the world. And I think when you have that inner conviction, which Barnard really nurtures in you, you have the ability to go out and do challenging things, and you're not going to get stopped. And I think that's part of what being bold means.
Great. I'm not sure if these connections so sort of strong enough to be on this webinar. So we'll just wait for it to come back. But maybe I'll ask a question that I've had in mind. What are the advantages for women who are in STEM fields at women's colleges? Because I know that that's something that, in a regular context, women might be underrepresented in certain STEM fields. So how does that play out in one of, maybe Juliana can start that since you're going into neuroscience, but potentially, others could also respond.
So for sure, yeah, it's no secret that women are underrepresented in STEM. And it's also no coincidence that at Wellesley, our most popular majors are computer science and economics, fields that have been traditionally very, very closed off to women and to people of other genders who are not cisgender men, pretty much. So I think what Wellesley can offer you specifically is research experience, first and foremost. Because we are an undergraduate institution, because we are specifically an undergraduate institution, there is a misconception that there are no research opportunities. And I want to take this moment to completely and entirely dispel that. It is precisely because we don't have graduate students that pretty much any student at Wellesley who wishes to do research is more than able to do so, be it on campus or at our partner institutions like MIT. So speaking from personal experience, for the past year, I have been doing research at an MIT lab. And honestly, I can tell you that before starting, I felt like I was never going to get hired. I didn't come from a high school where we had a ton of fancy lab equipment. I had never really done research before, and I thought that all of these things were going to stop me from being able to tap into that, which I wanted to pursue. So pretty much as a leap of blind faith, I emailed the research assistant in charge of the lab and really was not expecting a response back, and instead was faced with open arms saying, you know what, it's okay if you don't know the techniques, I will train you. And this is something that you will find both with our off-campus partners like MIT, like a College of Engineering called Olin, but also with Wellesley professors themselves, who are so willing to train you on any technique that it is you need to know. And in conjunction with that, the second big part of why I think Wellesley students are so prepared to go into STEM is because professors are there to mentor you and guide you every step of the way. I can speak again from personal experience on this front, but I can tell you very sincerely, chemistry is not my forte. Chemistry will probably never be my forte. Unfortunately, I have to take a great deal of chemistry courses in order to graduate as a neuroscience major. First class I took in chemistry was General Chem at Wellesley College, and I was so nervous to have a bad experience like I'd had with IB chemistry. Instead, what I found was a professor who literally went above and beyond in every imaginable way to make sure that me and my classmates got the most out of that class. And what that meant for us concretely was that a week before the final exam, I went up to her with a few of my other classmates and we all said, listen, Professor Woodford, there's a few things that we're still kind of shaky on. What can we do ourselves that's going to solidify our understanding pretty much? And immediately she stopped us and said, clearly, if all three of you are experiencing this, is because I did not complete my responsibilities adequately. Let me make it up to you. Let me come to campus for the next 3 days from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night and just camp out with you guys in the dining hall until you feel 100% confident to conquer this exam. And she followed through on that promise and literally just brought us copious amounts of Starbucks coffee and answered all of our questions. And I cannot tell you what a difference that made for me, both in the final exam, but also in giving me the confidence to pursue organic chemistry, which is something that truly never would have crossed my mind. So yeah, I think as a student at a women's college, you will be so supported if a career in STEM is what you're looking for. And if not, as well.
Wow, that's amazing. First off, I love that story about your professor. That is so wonderful. I do kind of want to piggyback on what you were saying, Juliana, about how, in STEM, we are so underrepresented, and it really comes down to the experiences that you have specifically in your undergraduate years that set you up for especially graduate school and going into your respective field after graduation. So I think that what all three of us can say is that an all women's education gives you the opportunity to do the hands-on work that is so crucial to your understanding the material. It's one thing just to listen to a professor give you a lecture on the information, but to be able to do it yourself hands-on in the lab, know the ins and outs of it yourself, that's crucial to your success. And at Sweet Briar in our STEM programs, much like these other two institutions, you have access to top of the line research opportunities, top of the line, machinery and labs and everything like that. Our engineering program has robotics labs, circuits, mechatronics, everything. And within the first 2 weeks of your first year, you learn all the safety measures and you learn how to properly use that equipment so that you're not just watching a teacher's assistant or a graduate student do the work and use all of that, all of those lab equipment, all that equipment. There we go. That's the word that I'm looking for. All the equipment. You get to learn how to do it yourself so that once you go off to graduate school, you don't feel like you're behind. You feel like you're ahead of the game. And that comes in so handy for us, when in the STEM sciences, you feel like you have to prove yourself a little bit more to have that upper hand and be so secure in your own abilities. That's essential. So I think that that's what an all women's education can provide you, and that's how it can help you in that sense.
Yeah, I think, the president of Barnard is a cognitive scientist, and she writes a lot about women in STEM, and she's very, very actively involved in the national conversation around needing to improve women's representation in STEM. And I see that she's just tweeted 21 hours ago that 1 in 3 Barnard graduates in the class of 2020 were STEM majors, and that's compared to 1 in 5 nationally. And I think this is probably similar at colleges like Wellesley as well. I think these women's colleges really, foster and promote women's pursuance of careers and fields that may not be readily available, accessible, and promoted at co-ed colleges and universities.
Great. Thank you so much for your responses. I think that really gave us a sense of, the unique, the resources, the unique kind of ethos and atmosphere and, enabling that can happen at a women's college and for STEM students. So I think the one final question we have is just about scores required for admission. So I'm going to say probably a good way to approach this is just for students to go to their websites, and I'm sure scores and GPAs and sort of stat scores and ACT scores and all of that will be available on university websites. So if you're interested in applying to these 3 colleges, do feel free to look up websites for specific information about admission scores. So I think with that, we are going to draw this webinar to a close. Unfortunately, our host, Unnati, EducationUSA Advisor Kolkata, is undergoing a bit of a storm situation there and has lost her connection. So we want to thank EducationUSA Kolkata for hosting and arranging this webinar. And thank you to all of you so much. Elish, Juliana, Sunita, thank you for spending your time with us, sharing your perspectives, your experiences. It's been really helpful to kind of create a picture of what how women's college can help our students. So we really appreciate you spending your time with us. Thank you to all the students who joined in today, and do feel free to send Education USA questions if you have any. And I think our panelists have also shared contact information, so you're welcome to get in touch with them as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Much.